Now we're going to look at how to use modules in Jigsaw. What modules are is they are a set of functions that allow you to do different things. So in Jigsaw we have modules for working with robots, modules for graphics. Those are the two we're going to use this trimester. So those modules then allow you to do things like control a robot or draw some pictures. And they just give you some really easy functions. So the way that we add a module is we go up to Edit, and Use a Module is here on the very first row. You can see all the different modules that are here. Some of these have been fully implemented and are able to use, and many of them, some of them are still in an experimental stage. But we're going to use Myro, which is our robotics module. It stands for short for My Robot, so that's how you can remember it. And when we click on this, what's going to happen is we're going to get a lot more options over here, where we used to just have the control statements, input, output, and procedures. We now have these M/ options, which are the Myro modules. Now this looks like a whole lot of stuff, but we're not going to actually use that many of them for right now. We're not going to use, for example, the advanced options, which are really advanced. We're going to stick for right now mostly with movement, robot, senses. We're going to learn about senses in the next video, and we're going to use a few actions potentially. So we're going to start by looking at the robot stuff. This is how we initialize our robot. So we have an init statement. I'm going to drag that over, and we can, when we do this, when we double click this, we can enter our port, which for right now we're going to use the simulator, so our port is actually sim, so that's going to give us our simulator, as you can see right here. I'm going to close this up for now so I can show you some of the other different functions. Okay, so that's how we initialize using our robot. You can also use this initialize port and type your port in, but it's kind of nice to have that pop-up window. We can set the name of our robot, so we can give it a name of something else. It defaults to Scribby. So we've got our name of our robot, and that's pretty much it for right now that we're going to use from the robot thing. So those are the two things that you can remember, especially Init. So then we want our robot to move around, so we're going to use movement. These are pretty straightforward. We've got backward, forward. We can use a gamepad, but we don't have any gamepads for our class, so we're not going to worry about that right now. We also have the joystick option, which just allows you to use a virtual joystick. I'm going to put that in there so you can see what that looks like. You can get some fine control over your robot by using the different motors. We're mostly going to stick with forward and backward and some other things. The other movements that will be useful to you are turn left and turn right. Those are not as specific as some other functions, which I'll show you in just a minute. They're under advanced, and they're the only advanced functions that we're actually going to use, but we'll start with these for right now. So we've got when the script starts, and we've initialized our robot, we've named it Rosie, and we've set up a joystick for it. Okay, so you see I'm going to type in sim. Now I have my simulator, and then this is the joystick. So if I want to move my robot around, I can move it around the screen using this virtual joystick, and that's kind of fun. Okay. But it's more fun if we use some other capabilities. So if we make it turn left, turn right, some things like that, so we can make it move around the screen. So let's make it go forward. So forward, it takes power and time. So your power can be basically 0 to 1. So we make it go kind of slow, and we can make it go for, say, 5 seconds. And then we could make it turn left. Here, let's use our power end time. Oops. My block is not deleting. There we go. I hit no. Okay, let's turn left for, let's say 1 and for 1 second. And then we'll go forward again for a little bit. Let's say this time 1, 2, and then let's turn to the right for a little bit. Again, we need a power and some time. Let's do 2. Okay, now let's see what we've got when we double click our script. We're going to run the simulator. It's going to go forward for 5 seconds. It's turning left, and you notice that wasn't a perfect left-hand turn, which is the way that that works. Okay, so those are the basic movements. And if you remember, we learned how to do loops under control. If we wanted to repeat that action, so let's say we want, let's put this underneath. Let's put this in here, and then we actually need to move these up. So let's say we want it to make those movements more than once. So we now have a repeat. So we will have it running around the screen a little bit more, more time. So it goes forward, turns forward, turns right, goes forward again. It's going to bump into the wall in just a minute, which might be a bad thing. Yep, there we go. So you see it just kind of bumps. It's trying to do its thing. So that's a bad thing. And we'll learn how to make it do something different when it does bump into the wall. But for right now, I'm going to actually stop our script. Close this up. Okay, so those are some basic movements. I'm going to show you a couple of other things, and then we'll be done. So under Advanced, we have move by, turn by. We're going to use these instead of our turn left. This is pretty handy. So we can, instead of turning left just a little bit, I'm going to move these down here just for a second. We can turn by a particular angle. So if we want to make an exact 90-degree turn, we can put 90 degrees in there, and now it will turn by 90 degrees instead of its crazy not quite. And we can also turn by, let's put our forward back in here. I'm losing track of my blocks here. They're moving all over the screen. Here we go. You can just click and drag and that'll get them back, and I can actually drag this down so I can see it better. I'm going to put a forward in between those two things. And now let's change this turn by. If we wanted to turn in the opposite direction by a right angle, we would use our minus there. So let's try this. Now it's going forward. It should turn exactly 90 degrees. It's going to the right, so positive is to the right. And it's going to go forward a little bit, and then it's going to go back to the left. And then it's going to go forward. It's going to go to the right. So there you have it. So that's a little bit better. Okay, one more thing. And then we will be done with the basics here. So there are some actions that you might want to use. Most of these you're not going to use. Pen down just puts the pen down so that you can see, you can draw, different designs on the screen. So let's see what that pin down function does. So we're going to enter our sim, and now you can see there's a black box around our little robot, and it's drawing a line, which is kind of cool. So now we're going to be able to see the path that the robot follows. It should be kind of zigzaggy, like stair steps. So there you go. So that's kind of fun. You can make it draw shapes. That's one thing you might consider having your robot do. You can have it draw shapes. You can have it take input from a user and draw the shape that that the user tells it to. There's all different kinds of things you can do. So let's stop that. And those are the basics. There's a ton of different options, but those will get your robot moving around the screen, even drawing some pictures, some things like that. So good luck.